Hello, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives, a cultural journey from here to there. My name is Tyler Burke, and I'm the founder of Omnian, and I am joined, as always, with our Director of Training, Chris Garcia.
Hey, how's it going, Tyler?
Man, I am awesome today. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing great, man.
Awesome.
Excited for this one.
That is an understatement, I think, on so many levels. I don't know. There's moments in life where they turn out to be absolutely pivotal. I remember when we went through this, when we met Tom Pomeranz 10, 12 years ago. I remember going through a similar thing when we met Karen Harvey.
Absolutely.
There's just a moment in time where things start firing off in your brain and you learn something and you get a hold of a concept that literally changes how you think. And I think what we're going to be talking about today and the perspective that we're going to explore is not just something that I think is even liberating our own minds to things, but I think this is going to be a staple and a change in like operations on how we move forward, and certainly within curriculum development over the next bunch of years.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? Anyway. So let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about moving from what is, right? And when we say that, we're talking about like the current state of the system and how things really operate, and moving towards what if, and all of the potential new options, new opportunities that come along with that type of thinking.
All right. And when you hear what if initially, it might not knock your socks off or anything, right? But
Yeah. Wow.
let's just start here with the perspective.
Give it a second, folks.
Okay, here we go. For many people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, life is shaped by a two-act system that almost seems pre-written. Act 1 runs from birth to age 22, school years filled with individualized education programs, therapy schedules, and structured services. Then, as if almost happening overnight, Act 2 begins and stretches throughout the rest of their life. Group homes, day programs, and a steady rhythm that rarely changes. Now, this is not everyone's story, but it's the default what is story for a lot of the people that we support. The problem isn't that group homes or day programs are inherently bad, and we do want to make that very clear. They can be supportive, safe, and very important. The problem is that they're often treated as the option instead of one of many possible options. That's where what if comes in. What if someone wants a job instead of going to a day program? What if the person wants to start a business? What if they could rent their own apartment, choose their own roommates, or decorate their home the way they want? What if they celebrated milestones just like everyone else, like you and I, turning 18, registering to vote, turning 21, ordering that first drink? What if the person wants an actual boyfriend or girlfriend? What if AI can be used as a partner and a tool? What if restraints can be avoided in almost every scenario? What if agency leadership practices saying, what if? What if the arc of a person's life wasn't dictated by a service system, but by their own dreams, values, and choices? The what is mindset measures success by fitting people into the existing system. The what if mindset challenges us to expand the system or step outside of it, so life possibilities aren't artificially capped and restricted.
Mm.
Right off the bat,
Yep.
the beauty of what if, and we've been really excited because it's everything's open, right?
Yeah.
It's anything's possible.
Endless.
It's endless, literally.
Yeah.
And it's because otherwise, if you don't ask what if, the answer to the question is just based on whatever we've experienced.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I shared this with you earlier, but I want to share with you guys just,
Yeah.
and it's really easy. So if I said, hey, where are we going on vacation this year? Okay, we're going to base that off wherever you've gone on vacation, or maybe it's a special family spot,
Mhm.
maybe it's a staycation, whatever it is, but it's going to be based on what you've done in the past.
Yep.
But if I was to ask you, what if we had the best vacation ever? It's exciting.
It changes the conversation.
Yeah, man. And so, yeah, I think that's why we're kind of so jacked up about this.
Yeah. Well, I when we take just a second to stop and we say what if, it's like we're jumping over this initial mental hurdle
Yeah,
that almost always, and it varies from person to person how much they do this, but it so often it starts out with all the reasons why you shouldn't, all the reasons why you can't, all the things that are going to make it difficult, and all of these things. And we typically, when we think about that, it becomes overwhelming, or it can be a reason to not even start, right? And so many times that conversation, that's where it ends. And we're like, oh yeah, it is what it is, kind of, things. And we talk about what is, well, it's been like this for 20 years, it's been like this for 30 years. We keep going to the same places every year. It's easier that way, it's comfortable, it's safe, you know. But if we can simply change that mental thought process and language and the self-talk that we use into, well, what if? Well, that's the perfect place to start. And if we can just take that one next step of not stopping right there as soon as anything comes up, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more here in a
sure,
second.
sure.
I don't want to get ahead of
I know.
ourselves, but this is possibly the most liberating thing I can think of.
And a good example of this that I saw um, was with regard to Elon Musk. However you feel, take that out. I'm just,
Hmm.
you know, the innovation of,
Yeah.
if, let's say he asked, um, how do we send people to outer space? It's like, whoa, man, what are you talking about?
Hmm.
What if we build a company that could send people to outer space?
Yeah.
And right, I mean, that's it's just it's an easy thing, but it starts everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about that guy. I mean, I don't know of another thinker out there that probably spends more time in what if thinking. I mean, this freaking guy, right? I mean, traffic's really bad in LA.
Yeah,
What if we tunnel under it? What? And he just does it. Like it can be outrageous sometimes, but if you actually start to break down the barriers and perceived barriers, maybe they're more overcomable than we think. And that's the entire point of today.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
love it with regards to what we do in our field.
Oh man.
So let's get into the skills and
Let's
habits.
go.
Ask the question. Practice saying what if during planning meetings, reviews, and daily conversations. Then go further. Notice what happens after you ask it. Too often, barriers appear quickly. There's funding limits, staffing shortages, transportation issues. These are all things you guys all know about. That's not how we do it policies. And possibly the most damaging judgment, the person is not competent enough. They're not independent enough. These become invisible ceilings and boundaries that may not be fair or necessary. Your challenge is to name those barriers out loud and then reframe them, not as reasons to stop, but as obstacles to overcome. Ask, if this barrier didn't exist, how would we make it happen? And then start working toward that version of the future. You know, when it mentions just how we frame it, it's so easy to get into what they call episodic framing. And that's just focusing on a very small aspect of a much larger
Hmm.
thing. But when we use thematic framing, you kind of come out and now you look at the big picture. And that's kind of how I feel this is.
Yeah.
It expands the frame to where maybe you don't even need a frame,
Yeah.
right? And so when we talk about barrier reframe examples, so let's look at this.
Hmm.
The barrier is we don't have staff to support that schedule. So how would we reframe that? What if we flex staff schedules or involve community volunteers? The barrier, they can't afford their own place. The reframe, what if we look at housing vouchers, shared housing, and co ops? A barrier, transportation is a problem. Reframe, what if we explore rideshare, mobility training, or job sites on bus lines? The barrier could be, well, we've never done that before. And reframing it, what if we pilot it for one person and see if it works? The barrier could be, they're not competent or independent enough, or they function at a 5-year-old level,
Oh boy.
right?
Hmm.
Well, we've heard that one. What about a reframe that as, what if we provide the right supports, training, or assistive technology so they can do it successfully?
Hmm.
Expand the menu, present multiple life options, not just the standard paths that we're all used to.
What is?
The what is,
Hmm.
exactly. Use real life benchmarks, include common milestones and goal planning, just as you would for someone who doesn't have a disability, and seek natural supports. Leverage community resources, friends, and informal networks alongside formal services.
Hmm.
Kind of sounds familiar. I mean, it's
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah. The thing that really is freaking me out
Yeah.
about this, and we sort of alluded to this in this last reframe, like what if we provide the right supports? What if we provide different supports? You know, I mean, really, what we're talking about is a mind shift difference in every supporters, family members. I've been in well over 1,000, planning meetings and things where we sit around and we discuss what happened last year. We make plans for what's coming next year, and there is such a mental barrier from various people in the room at times, and it's usually different on where it is. But there's so many times these perceived barriers come up, and it's just a dead stop, right? And there may be things that are impossible, right? There may be things that you just aren't going to happen for whatever reason. There are hard stops at times, but the point, and if we can do this in a planning meeting where we say everything's on the table, let's ask what if from step one. And then let's have a really honest conversation about overcoming barriers is a completely different conversation. And I think we're going to find that people will have access to new opportunities. People
Yeah.
are going to be provided, you know, things will become available and we can step outside of this box a little bit. And I promise people are going to probably exceed our expectations in ways that we haven't even thought about yet when they're given that opportunity. And what an exciting place to be to to give people a chance, give people a shot. And if they fail, fine, who cares? That's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's give it a shot
Well,
and
there's
see what happens, right?
way more dignity in that.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's something else I want to add, Tyler. Listen, asking what if isn't like this new concept. It's
Hmm.
just where we've seen what if occur more is like in the world of technology.
Hmm.
And look how that has just transformed
Hmm.
the whole world, people's lives, you know, people people with Parkinson's who can actually eat on their own because there's a spoon or a fork
Yeah.
that counteracts the shaking of their hand so they
Yeah.
don't spill their food.
Yeah.
I mean, all we're saying is let's take this thought that has been primarily in technology
Yeah.
innovation and let's just bring it to what we do.
Well, there was a moment in time where somebody was sitting in a meeting probably and they were talking about that very issue. And they're like, what if the spoon was to adjust for the
Yeah,
person? I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, I think we could build that. What if the spoon actually makes compensation for the shaking of the hand and the thing holds still? And then they build it and it liberates people,
absolutely.
right? I mean, we've actually done this for years in a lot of different aspects. I just don't know that we um, had the language or the focus on really what we were doing in many different situations.
Mhm,
And we've seen. I mean, every innovation that's ever come to be has started with somebody saying "what if."
absolutely.
And I think that's really all we're saying is why don't we in this field, because we're typically 10, 15, 20 years behind the rest of the world, what if we just like most technology innovators and folks out there that are making game-changing discoveries and innovations, what if we all did that in the field of developmental disabilities, in a similar manner?
And something else, it's not like it's never been done in our field. We're not saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But think about the times that it has.
yeah,
What if we close down institutions?
yeah,
Imagine if nobody had ever asked that.
yeah.
What about if we have home and community based services? The Olmstead Act would have never happened.
Mhm.
What about if we never learned about trauma?
Yeah,
What if we never it's been there. All we're
yeah,
saying is let's just do it all the time.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's how we're really going to try and advance this.
In every conversation, in every planning meeting, in every moment with between a DSP and the person they support, and you go out there and maybe you see a little struggle, you see, you know, somebody, needing a fair amount of assistance, even in that little moment, what if we try this? What if we do that? Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And man, how fun is that? You know?
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Okay. Let's look at the motivation behind this.
Yeah.
When we replace what is with what if, we open the door to a fuller, richer set of possibilities. This is more than inclusion, it's equity and the right to dream and pursue a life that feels worth living.
Mm.
Every what if asked is a doorway to choice, autonomy, and the milestones that make life feel like life,
Yeah. A full life.
feel like a full life. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you do really feel like a door's opening when you
You do.
say "what if."
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
It's
Or, I mean, I think it's not about like just coming off as a dreamer and being the guy that's,
yeah,
you know,
pie in the sky or something. Yeah,
it's just such a simple practice that may just surprise the hell out of us, to be honest.
yeah.
You know, I love
Well,
it.
I mean, I even started thinking, well, man, like, what about if all of us, like when we were young, if someone would have just told us, like, what if more? What who knows
Yeah.
what And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, even with my own son who's 13, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to lay this on him hard. Like,
Hmm.
th- it's just, yeah, it just applies, and I think that's why we're so excited about it.
And we're getting ready to get into the leadership section, and maybe it's even a segue. We as excited as we get about this idea of saying what if, I know that one of the most frustrating places to be is when people don't, right? And certainly for folks
Yeah,
that are in positions of any kind of leadership and decision making power, whether it's at a managed care organization or maybe a state agency or a county board, whatever, right? And you know how frustrating it can be when you have a new idea, a new thought, a new concept, and it's just instantly shut down because that's just not how we do it, right?
right.
What do we call it in the first section, right? We have that's not how we do it policy,
Yeah,
which is great.
I've heard that.
Um, I mean, we've come up against this a number of times, even when we have spoken about peaceful practices and reducing the use of restraints, right? And because that entire conversation started out with, what if people don't need to be restrained? Like, well, no, you gotta do that. You gotta keep them safe. We've got policies about what you do. We've got approved techniques and all of these things in order to keep them safe, and we got to do it like this. Like, I understand that. And nobody wants people to be unsafe.
No,
But what if there was a way where we could reduce, if not limit, 99% of the use of restraints out there? What if there was a different way? Right. And it's going to take somebody with the guts and leadership. And we're going to get into this, but some leadership. And if you are in that position, again, at a state, at a managed care organization, somebody in a, dare I say, gatekeeping role of policies, I'm challenging you to ask yourself, well, what if we try this? What if we take one step beyond our comfort zone and try it? Because you know what? The people that we support deserve it. They're worth it. And, I think we can all agree we can improve on the system. There's room for improvement and growth in the
100%.
system. And it's not ever going to change until people in those decision making roles say, what if we do that? And let's try it. Let's go. That's the entire point of not only this perspective series, but all of it. When we talk about cultural change, it's somebody saying, Yeah, what if culture was different,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely, yeah,
It's
man.
more opportunity in front of us right now than at any point in
Ever.
history.
Yeah,
Uh, let's go. What are we waiting for?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I mean, I was just telling Tyler before we started this, it's like all of a sudden it's like the new motto of our company,
Yeah.
right? I mean, yeah.
Dude, this is gonna be on shirts. This is gonna be on our, and again, it's not a new concept, but it's a reframing and a focusing on exactly why, when we have been innovative in the past, why were we successful? What was it about that made it work? It was the ability to say what if.
That's right.
So to be able to communicate, it's like I feel like we've been given language to talk about that process, and that's what excites me so
Yeah.
much.
Look out for the Omni and What If shirts,
Yeah.
1999,
Hashtag what if.
omnian.com. All right. Let's talk about this leadership.
Okay.
Okay. Leaders set the tone for what's possible. If your organization defaults to the two-act system, then challenge it. Revise policies. Remove internal rules that limit housing, employment, and relationship choices. Fund innovation. Support pilot programs that try non traditional living, working, or learning arrangements. Model curiosity. Encourage staff at every level to ask, what if, and then reward that creative problem solving.
Mhm.
When leadership says what if out loud, it gives permission for everyone else to do the same.
Mm.
Now, I want to touch on this part, Tyler, the fund innovation. Okay. Because as a previous agency owner like you were, when you hear fund something, first thing that comes to your mind is money,
Mhm.
and probably not how much of it you have,
Mhm.
but how little of it you have.
Uh-huh.
And I've never owned an agency, but as someone who's been in the field a long time, that's always a top. I mean, it's a huge topic of conversation, as it should be,
Sure.
as it has to be. But
Sure.
I mean, tell me about the mindset of someone in that position who is responsible fiscally for their agency. I mean, yeah, it's easy to say fund it, but I mean,
Well, I don't think that either one of us are saying let's be reckless,
okay,
right?
yeah,
I think there's and not agency owners, but I mean, and there's money makes this entire system work, right? And we don't have to, we don't have to equate money to being like gross corporate America or something. Nonprofits included, right? You've heard the saying like no money, no mission, right? I mean, nobody can do what we do without the
yeah,
financial part behind it. But I think again, so many times the financial barriers or perceived barriers is like the instant stop with so many conversations.
hmm,
So if we say, well, what if money wasn't an issue? Would we do it? Would we, try this new thing or do it? The answer is probably yes. Fine. Take the next step. What do we need to do? You may have to fundamentally change what is in order to get there, but that's the whole point. Something, one of the biggest challenges in our field right now is DSP wages.
yeah,
What if we pay them more? Well, now that's crazy talk. There's no more money.
yeah.
Well, what if there was? Well, that would be amazing. Okay, well, let's make that happen. How do we do that? I don't know yet, but let's have that conversation. It's not just a dead stop.
Rather than just shut it down.
Do we
Yeah,
have to limit brick and mortar buildings or reduce some of the fixed expenses that a lot of these provider agencies have that they've had for 20 years? What if that didn't exist? What if that wasn't an expense anymore? Could you pay more wages? Well, yeah. Okay, well, maybe we should talk about that. Do we need seven layers of management, on top of DSPs in order for the organization to work well? Maybe we don't. Is there use of new technology, automated back end processes, back office processes, bringing in AI and some of
yeah,
these electronic platforms or things that make it so that we don't need so many levels of management? Well, if there's that's a potential opportunity to save costs. Let's give that to do. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
there are, and the entire point is not to say that we have all of the answers, but this is the question. What if is the question to get us to move forward and to break us out of that feeling of being stuck,
Yeah,
and it's like, and that because that's a paralyzing place to live is just when you feel stuck. in our field, in our personal life, in every
Absolutely.
I mean, it sucks to feel stuck,
Yeah.
right? Well, I think this is the way to help unstuck us, is to just say, maybe it could work,
Yeah.
and to try it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
know?
mean, just having the conversation because, when you give people the opportunity to think,
Mhm.
you might be surprised who's coming up with new ideas,
Yeah.
and as you were saying that, it reminded me, man, and I haven't thought about this forever, at that level, at that, organizational leadership level, what you're
Mhm.
talking about.
Mhm.
But I remember I used to run after school programs.
Yeah.
And one of the things that prevented us from doing a lot of fun stuff was there was no money. And that was always,
Yeah.
we have no money. So we can't bring in, someone from the zoo to bring in, some animals that they could transport to show,
Mhm.
the kids,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we came up with the idea of, and it was considered a bold move at the time to ask parents to donate to a fund.
Mhm.
And what we found is the parents that could donate, they did. And they did so willingly.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are aware that there's some families that can't,
Mhm.
and then there's some families that could, and then there's some families that could actually do more.
Yeah.
And everyone was willing because the cause was right and it was
Yeah.
for their children. So, you know, I I remember that our program, we were able to do so much cool stuff because
Yeah.
and it wasn't me that asked what if, it was one of my staff who
Yeah.
asked what if.
Yeah.
And we never thought about that, and that was new to that company,
Mhm.
and it turned out to be something great. Yeah,
I think it's a wonderful example, and probably one a lot of, agencies and folks that are involved in day programs can relate to. What if the, people in the day program went into business?
yeah,
What if they
they
collectively or individually started making products and things to sell? What if they're right? We can and actually saw the employment opportunity in it. Like I don't know. Make I heard of one program that they made like dog biscuits or something or other and
yeah,
sold it or something.
absolutely.
Um, why not? You know, and I think that again, it was a single moment where somebody said, "What if?" You know, and I think that even to our final point here in the under the leadership section,
Mhm,
allowing and encourage not even allowing encouraging direct support professionals to say what if is so empowering. And we spoke about this, I think, in last week's perspective. It builds autonomy. It encourages creativity.
mhm,
I mean, I alluded to people in decision making roles as sort of the
mhm,
gatekeepers of decisions and things. If we can empower direct support professionals to give input and to be creative and to reward what if moments, God only knows what is going to be brought to the table with possibilities, options, and new opportunities.
yep. Not only that, last point, not only that, think about the future leadership we could be creating
Yeah,
when DSPs are able um, to share their ideas, and when they're used, you may be creating the next leader in this field that's gonna change more innovation than we're even
yeah,
thought of,
yeah.
just from giving someone that opportunity. Yeah, this is good. Yep,
We don't have to stay a decade behind the rest of the world.
absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, our entire field seems to operate, and I don't want to harp on it. I know it's come out a couple of times before. It moves so slow, and we're so slow to innovate. Well, what if we did? What if we didn't wait until we were forced into integrating with AI? What if we weren't,
Mhm,
forced into some of these changes a decade from now? What if we get on the front of it and we figure out ways to integrate with it? And this is a single example, right? But any new idea, we talked about limiting restraints. There's we went through something similar years ago with moving away from sheltered workshops, right? And
yeah,
and and I remember when that with the HCBS final rule and some of those changes came about, And so many people that we spoke with, their very first thing was, that's crazy talk.
Yeah.
How are we going to pull
Yeah.
that up? They're not ever going to mandate that. I'm not going to do anything. And okay, can we say what if even before we're forced to? You know, I mean, is there not a better way perhaps than sheltered work where we're paying people sub minimum wage and things? What if people made a full wage? What if people worked, with competitive integrated employment settings? What if people didn't play bingo 4 times a week, but, contributed to greater society?
Yeah.
And not wait till we're forced to make those decisions, but see the opportunity and maybe even get a little excited to be a part of the progression of the field. And I think everybody out there has that opportunity and that potential to be a part of leading the way. Do something in Alabama or New York or New Mexico for your program and have your what if moment, have the guts behind it to then follow through and then talk about it and see other people adopt it and stuff, right? And like as a field, it's so common that we get stuck in this victim mentality.
Yeah.
There's just not enough money. I can't do anything else. There's not, it's like, okay, what if there was enough money? What if, because, we're going to be paralyzed and not do something new? What if there was enough money right now to do what I want to do in the program and something new? Well, I bet if you look at it and you got creative, you'll find it, and that's the hope.
I think you guys catch our drift. We are fired up. I mean, 100%, and we're not shy about that. Um, and I think that this won't be the last time that you're going to hear about this. We plan on coming back with some other what if ideas that I don't know. I think our viewers are really going to enjoy. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. And I
Go ahead.
I don't feel bad about even kind of priming the pump on that a little bit. Our intent with this is to reach out to family members, direct support professionals, agencies that have taken that initiative to say what if, and followed by a success story of something and an opportunity where people probably far exceeded the expectations of everybody in the room. So we're very much going to be soliciting for those stories here soon. And if you're watching this, you could already hit us up with that. If you're intrigued and have that story, we'd love to hear it. Because I think that this happens, again, this isn't a new concept, right? People have been doing this for a long, long time, and they do it, frequently. We just want to bring it to light, and hopefully that will serve as some encouragement for anybody that might be on the fence and a little hesitant to say what if in certain areas. Yeah.
So Tyler, what if we did the one last thing?
What if it's time? That does bring us to the one thing, and we do very intentionally end with the one thing every week, because at the end of the day, if there's only one thing that you take from this perspective series, it is this. It is why we exist. It's a reminder of what we are here to do, because sometimes that can be easy to lose in the stress and the frustration and burnout and just the responsibility that sometimes can make us lose sight of our focus. And our focus really is about one thing. And this is simply a tool that you and I can say to each other and to ourselves on a daily basis, because regardless of where you are in your journey from what is to what if, this is a journey that we're all on together. And I would ask you to join me in saying to yourself, today, I choose in my role to assist people in getting their needs met.